Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel, and if you're new here, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. On today's episode of Grateful Living Cruises, we are going to be talking about the 5 pros and the 5 cons of Royal Caribbean's Harmony of the Seas. I recently took a trip, an 8-night adventure on Royal Caribbean's Harmony of the Seas, and I've done some videos that are already uploaded about my adventure, my time on Perfect Day at Coco Cay, etc. And now it's time to boil down the details and let you guys know my final thoughts and review of the ship. So here we go. We're going to talk about the 5 pros and the 5 cons of Royal Caribbean's Harmony of the Seas. Let's get started. Number 1, let's start talking about the pros of Harmony of the Seas. And we'll start with number 1, which is the sheer size of the ship. Harmony of the Seas is an Oasis-class ship, which is one of the larger ships from Royal Caribbean. It's not as large as the new Icon class, but Oasis-class is a very large ship. All of the ships in that class are large. They offer tons of amenities. They're some of the largest cruise ships in the entire world, and they honestly feel like a floating city. Really, most of the time you don't even realize that you're out in the middle of the ocean because these ships are so massive that you literally just feel like you're in a city. There's such a variety of things to do, such a variety of things to see. There's so much going on, you can't even really get to it all within your cruise. And so it really does make you feel like you're in an entertainment capital and a city all of its own. And for that reason, we give that number 1 slot to a pro. It's massive, they're modern, it's a mega ship, it feels like a city, there's tons of activities, and it overall is just a great feeling ship. Number 2, the number 2 pro for Royal Caribbean's Harmony of the Seas is the variety of entertainment. So because the ship is so large, they have the opportunity to offer a lot of different types of entertainment. And quite honestly, they need to, because the ship is so big and there are so many people, they need to spread out the crowds. However, this ship does offer, when I was on the cruise, Broadway show Grease, which was amazing, high quality, great production. It was amazing. They also have the Aqua Theater, which is probably one of my most favorite entertainment things of the sea, of any of ship I've been on. I love the Aqua Theater. I love seeing those people doing the high dives off of the very top portions of the back of the ship while the ship is moving, by the way, which is crazy, incredible, and a feat all in its own. They have the ice skating rink, which they do have on a lot of other ships, but on the Oasis-class ships, it feels like the ice skating rink is bigger and the production is a little bit nicer. And they just have all kinds of entertainment things happening, even comedy shows and just all sorts of different things. You're not going to be bored if you're on an Oasis-class ship, and Harmony of the Seas definitely lived up to that as well. I had such a great time. Also, one of my favorite things in terms of entertainment, if you will, on Harmony of the Seas, or the Oasis-class ships, or the ships in general that have this, but they have a karaoke room that is just for karaoke pretty much. It's called On Air, and on Harmony of the Seas, it's right there off of the Royal Promenade area, and it is a whole venue that its whole focus and the whole way that it was built is to cater to karaoke. So it's not like those cheesy, what I feel are kind of cheesy sometimes, like when you have the karaoke in the Star Lounge for an hour. Like, this is an actual karaoke like venue, and I love On Air. I think it's a fantastic place. I don't sing karaoke, but I do love watching, and it's a great way to meet people especially if you're traveling solo the way I am. It's a great way to be able to see people, to talk to people, and when everyone is singing, it's a great icebreaker, right? So anyway, the number 2 pro I love, lots of entertainment variety on Harmony of the Seas. The third pro we'll talk about for Harmony of the Seas is that if you are an adventure seeker, then an Oasis-class ship like Harmony of the Seas by Royal Caribbean will definitely be ideal for you. They have a 10-story Ultimate Abyss dry slide. That sucker goes from the top of the back of the ship all the way down. It's crazy. It goes all the way down to the boardwalk area, I believe, and it looks crazy. I did not do that, of course. I think I exceed the weight limit, and I'm over 40 years old, so I don't think I need to be trying to do that. But they have that huge Abyss slide. They have multiple water slides, including the Perfect Storm Trio, and you'll see in the video like the slides are everywhere. They have the surf simulator, the Flow Rider, which even though I'm not the type of person or in the physical condition to do the activity, it's really fun just to go watch. I loved sitting back there. They have bench seats, kind of like a stadium seating, where you can sit there and watch the people who are participating in the surf simulator. I loved watching that. It was so much fun. There's always typically a good breeze. They're covered, so you have a little bit of shade in those areas. And it's just fun to watch people having a good time or wiping out, whatever. It's a really enjoyable time, even if you're not actually taking part in the activity itself. Additionally, Harmony of the Seas does have a zip line. They have a rock climbing wall. They have all sorts of things for adventure seekers. So I don't think anyone is going to be bored on this ship. Okay, let's talk about number 4, the 4th pro, and we'll get to the cons in a minute, I promise. But the 4th pro is the sheer number of dining options you have on Harmony of the Seas. Again, it is an Oasis-class ship, so there's a large space for a lot of different venues, for a lot of different people that are on the ship. It's kind of a necessity that they have all of this, but they have all of the favorites. And although not all of these are included in your price, if you just wanted to hit up 1 or 2, it basically would be the same as going out for dinner on a Friday night, right? So they have the Jamie's Italian, they have the Wonderland, which is a really cool spin, I guess, on a dining experience. They have Izumi, they have a huge, the buffet, which is included, of course. And so they have a lot of different options, and that's just a few of them, but they have a lot of different options, and it not only allows people to kind of spread out during dinner time, but it allows people who don't just want to do the main dining room or the buffet or whatever to have plenty of other options if they're willing to spend a little extra money just to experience something different on the ship. So Harmony of Seas and all the other Oasis-class ships, they definitely have diverse and plentiful dining options outside of your main dining room and your buffet. Okay, number 5 is the unique neighborhood layouts. So if you've never been on a Royal Caribbean ship that has these neighborhoods, most of their ships have something similar to it, but I feel like they do a fantastic job, especially on the Oasis-class ships, of really designing these unique neighborhoods. For example, in one of my videos, I showed you guys the Central Park area on Harmony of the Seas, and that area is truly designed to feel like a park. It looks like a park, it feels like a park, it has greenery, and it literally feels like you're taking a stroll through Central Park. I think that's a fantastic way to not only break up the layout and design of the ship, but it also gives you something visually appealing to keep you interested in what the ship has to offer. Also, the boardwalk area, that's where you'll find the carousel, and a lot of times you'll find Johnny Rockets, and there's usually another restaurant out there. And that's also where you'll walk toward where the Aqua Theater is. And this area, it's called the boardwalk, and honestly, it feels like the boardwalk. This ship, Harmony of the Seas, currently is sailing out of the port of Galveston, Texas. And in Galveston, Texas, there is like a boardwalk, little amusement park area, and it has the carousel, and it's kind of out, you know, on the boardwalk across the ocean. So it really feels like a boardwalk. It's really a nice area, and it kind of leads you to that Aqua Theater, which is a really cool experience all in its own. And also, I think that, you know, most people are familiar with the Royal Promenade because even the Voyager-class older ships have like the Royal Promenade set up. But when you have an Oasis-class ship and you have the Royal Promenade and you have the Central Park and you have the boardwalk, it really splits up these massive ships into spaces that don't necessarily feel so big, because now you have zones. Now you have areas that maybe you'll like one over the other, and you'll find yourself gravitating to that area. Or maybe if you want to take a long walk, you can just explore them all. But it does break up the navigational experience and the overall atmosphere and feeling of the ship. So I really think that the unique layouts and the neighborhoods really are a benefit for the Oasis-class ships, and especially here on Harmony of the Seas. Now, I know I said there's going to be 5 pros, but I just wanted to add one more. I had done a series of Voyager of the Seas type, or Voyager-class ships. Voyager of the Seas was one of them, but I've done several back-to-back Voyager-class ships. So going from that back to an Oasis-class ship on this trip, it made me really appreciate the comfortable and stylish cabins offered on Royal Caribbean's Harmony of the Seas. So you'll see I have a room tour video on my channel, but I really enjoyed how modern they were, the options of plugins and USB ports and storage. I had plenty of counter space and workspace on this ship. I really thought that it was a good reminder of how far cruise ship style and layouts in small spaces like a cabin on a cruise ship have come, because most of those Voyager-class ships are older, so they have the older style rooms and layouts and technology. So I really appreciated the stylish and comfortable cabin that I had on Harmony of the Seas. And it was quite deceiving, because as you'll see in my room tour video, when I first got there, I was like, man, I don't know how I'm gonna fit 8 nights worth of stuff in this room. And I ended up having so much space that was like hidden and here and there. I didn't even use it all. I mean, I had, you know, it was just me, but I definitely had room for my partner to be with me, and he packs a lot more than I do. So they are very well and efficiently laid out, and I really enjoyed my room on Harmony of the Seas. Okay, so everything can't be roses, right? So let's talk about a few cons of my experience on Royal Caribbean's Harmony of the Seas. Now, it is a big ship, and space comes a lot of people. So sometimes some of the areas can feel crowded. For example, the pool during sea days and peak times can definitely be crowded. The buffet can definitely be crowded if you go during peak times. And the popular attractions, you know, like for example, the Aqua Theater show, you know, they have to have several shows because it gets packed, and it gets packed quickly. You have to kind of reserve your spot in the app ahead of time. But basically my pro tip on this would be is just to plan ahead. Not only plan ahead, but make sure you think about what times you want to go to these different events. Because, for example, the buffet, what I did, I just learned to go to the buffet early for breakfast if I wanted to go to the buffet and not the main dining room. And I would go early, and then I wouldn't have like a huge crowd to fight with. Additionally, the same thing for lunch and dinner. So if you're going to the buffet or even your my time dining, just think about the times that you're going and think about the number of people that are on the ship and just work around it. I was able to figure out times that the areas weren't so busy and it worked around the schedule of things I wanted to do for the day anyway. So the crowded spaces, albeit kind of a con, didn't necessarily hinder my experience because I just adapted and worked around it. Okay, the next con I want to talk about is kind of controversial, I guess, for some people, but the extra cost can add up. Now, Royal Caribbean is not one of these all-inclusive cruise lines like Virgin Voyages or some of the others might be. So you do have to think about the extra fees that you're going to have if you do extra things. Now, I will say you can go on a cruise and not pay really anything extra above and beyond what you paid in the beginning. But there are some things, especially on Royal Caribbean and Harmony of the Seas, that will be extra. For example, if you want a soda package or an alcoholic beverage package or a premium coffee package, those things are all extra. You do get, water, teas, and some juices included in your fare. But if you want the sodas or the alcoholic beverages, those are additional packages and they can get quite expensive. So just be aware of that. If you've never been on a Royal Caribbean ship before, just be aware that those are extra. If you want to use Wi-Fi, if you want to go to some of the specialty fancier restaurants, if you want to do an excursion when you're at your port day, all of those things are added fees. So when you're thinking about your overall budget for your trip, you really need to think about these added costs. I'll give you a prime example. My partner and I are planning a trip for New Year's. We wanted to go on a cruise that is on the sea during New Year's. We've never done that before. And we started looking at all the different cruise lines and thinking, okay, which ones would we like to go on? What's new? What's exciting? And we quickly realized that the pricing, you really have to think about it, because although one cruise line may be $5,000 for the trip, once you start thinking about the fact that it already includes X, Y, and Z, and then you add how much you would have to pay for those things on the other cruise line, they sometimes can start equaling out to be about the same price, or in some cases, there may actually be some savings either way. The important thing here is just to not let it become a con that hinders your trip. Think about it ahead of time, plan well ahead, take a look and see what other people are saying about those costs, and make a decision for yourself as to what you need or what you don't need. For example, when I travel by myself, I rarely ever get the dining package because it's just me. And if I want to highlight a specific venue that I've not been to before, I don't mind paying for that one meal, but I'm not going to pay for the whole dining package when it's just me, myself, and I. However, when I go with my partner or with my mom or my family, we do probably want to experience those nicer dinners more often, and then we do find that the expense is worth it at that point in time. So it's all up to you. Don't let it be a con. Let it be just a learning experience and help you plan your next vacation. Number 3 con for Harmony of the Seas on Royal Caribbean, there are sometimes long waits for the elevators. Now, I will say I didn't have as bad of an experience on Harmony of the Seas as I did a recent ship I just got off of, which we will be talking about later. But I will say that there were times when the waits for the elevators were quite long. And oftentimes the elevators would be full or they would be going slow because there's so many people trying to use them at the same time. Again, this is where I say use a combination of the stairs if you're able, and also be smart about what times you're actually going to the elevator. For example, I once was going to go to the ice skating show and I thought about it, okay, my room's kind of far from there, so I'm going to have to take the elevator. So I'm going to make sure to go quite a bit early And that way I don't have to wait on the elevator. I don't have any problems getting a good seat. I'm a big guy, so I need to make sure I get there plenty early to get the best seats for my comfortability. So I just left early and I made sure I got there plenty of time, and I, took that negative con of what a lot of ships actually have, and I made it work for me. So it's not something that would prevent me from going, but it's just a fact. It's a large ship. There's a lot of people. The elevators can only do so much. Okay, number 4 is kind of an interesting thing because I think number 4 may depend on your personality. However, I have heard some people say that this size of ship can be overwhelming for someone who is maybe on their first ever cruise. So, sometimes there's a lot of anxiety when it's your first cruise ever, just about going on the cruise and being on the water and what to expect. And then when you add that with the plethora of things to do and the size of the ship and the number of people, it could, I can see, be overwhelming for first-time cruisers. However, I just think planning ahead again is the best way to make the most out of it. Every time I go on a new cruise ship I've never been on before, I spend the first day just exploring, trying to see what's available, getting a feel for the layout and the navigational directions of what's where and what is when, And I really use that day to help me plan the rest of my cruise. So if you're going on a 7 or 8 night cruise, that can be very beneficial because you have plenty of time to do your research ahead of time and get comfortable with that space. But just be aware, if that's something that makes you nervous, maybe start off with a Voyager-class ship or a smaller ship first and kind of get a feel for how everything works. But I don't think overall, because of the way they have the neighborhood set up, it's too crazy. However, I think it does depend on the personality. If you're someone that already feels anxious about the trip, then yes, maybe you should think about starting off with a smaller ship. But that's something that I've heard people say, and I just wanted to throw it out as a possible con. And number 5, I kind of talked about this a little bit earlier, but so if you are a pool person, then you may just want to make sure, especially on sea days, that you get to the pool early enough to secure a spot. I did notice, although I'm not particularly the type of person to sit outside by the pool all day, I did notice as I was walking around that a lot of times the pool would be really full and busy. So that's something to think about. Again, it is a big ship, and some of the pools, even on bigger ships, although they may be bigger than others, they can seem kind of small considering the number of passengers that are trying to use them. And you might want to just try to get there early to secure the space that you want. However, it is one of those things you're going to run into probably on any cruise ship unless your ship is not very full. And it's just something to think about. So overall, those are my pros and cons of Royal Caribbean's Harmony of the Seas. I really enjoyed my time on this ship. And I will tell you, in my videos, this was a cruise that I took right after I had just purchased my new GoPro equipment. And I thought I knew what I was doing, but I had did a whole detailed ship tour, and I had done the Sexiest Man Alive. I videoed that competition. There's all kind of stuff going on all the time. I had done all these videos. I was so proud. I was like, man, this is going to make amazing content. And when I was trying to download them, I don't know what I did wrong, but I ended up deleting a bunch of footage. So the video series on this one may not have been as detailed as I would hoped, but rest assured, I have figured out how to work my technology much better now. And going forward, I think you'll have a much better experience with my content. But these are my 5 with an added bonus 6 pros of what I loved about Royal Caribbean's Harmony of the Seas, and the 5 cons or things that you should just probably be aware of if you are planning your next cruise vacation or are considering Royal Caribbean's Harmony of the Seas or any of their Oasis-class ships for that matter. Thank you so much for joining, guys. I'll be coming at you with some new videos. We're trying to upload 2 videos a week, and we have lots of great adventures on the way. So leave me a comment. Have you been on Harmony of the Seas? Did you like it? What did you love? What did you not love? What was your experience? And I would love to hear from all of you guys. All right, you take care, and remember, we have to live life gratefully, one cruise at a time. See you next time.